Please like my videos, please subscribe to my channel, and please press the bell icon so that you get to know when my latest video has come. And to learn more and to find a video relevant to you, please do check out my videos list.
Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. As we go deeper and deeper into different placements from an astrological point of view and what your horoscopes are saying or what they are throwing up, it is also important that while we look at the good parts, we also look at some of the roadblocks we may hit and some of those areas which may be a detriment to us, or there may be hidden manifestation to us. And so the deeper understanding of those placements are very, very important, so that we don't miss out some of the obvious things which are throwing up in front of us or in our lives to different situations, yet we are so engrossed we are not able to see deeper and we are not able to handle them. One such placement is the Rahu Ketu axis in a horoscope. Why is it axis? Because Rahu and Ketu are mathematical points of the intersection of the orbits of Moon and Sun, and so these are mathematical points and they are always opposite each other in the horoscope. So if Rahu is in the first house, Ketu will always go in the house opposite to the first house, which is 7. If Rahu is in the 4th, Ketu goes in the 10th. If Rahu is in the 11th, then Ketu goes into the 5th house, and so on. So it is an axis which has a very, very strong deeper meaning to our lives. If at a very superficial level you see, we are told that Rahu is a planet of greed. Rahu is a planet of our hunger, where our passion lies. And so all our lives we are focused towards that. However, I have also made videos about how Rahu is a very important manifestation of your karma, as well as what you need to do, what your focus area should be in your life. And hence, basis that, Rahu tends to give you that hunger and the greed and the energy to chase the manifestation of the house, because that is your karma. So in a way, Rahu's placement in a house is not bad for you, because it adds to the greed, so that you don't let go of all the energies in different quarters rather than focusing on that quarter where Rahu needs you to focus on. And hence Rahu gives you extra energy, but many times we don't focus all our energies in that house, and so what happens then? Rahu, because there is so much extra energy and we are not doing much with that energy, so that Rahu tends to make us spend our energies in different ways connected to that house, and so we get unusual results of that house where Rahu is placed. So it is Rahu which becomes more infamous because of us rather than the other way around. So we know that Rahu is a planet of hunger and greed, whereas Ketu is a planet of negation. It negates us or disallows us to a large extent the goodness or the good results of the house that it is placed in, or with the planet that it is placed with. So Rahu gives the hunger and greed, the extra energy and the passion, whereas Ketu negates it. So that to that extent we understand these as malefic forces who tend to give us challenges. But at a deeper meaning, what does it mean? It means that if you are focusing on one part, it is like a seesaw, which means if you have seen a seesaw in a playground, you know that the seesaw is such thing that there is a middle fulcrum, and if two people are sitting on the other ends of the seesaw, if one person goes down, then only the other person can go up. Both of them cannot be up at the same time, or both of them cannot be down at the same time. At maximum, for some time you may be able to balance in the center, but even with those people who are very, very balanced and they have the same weight, yet you will find the up and down battle between the seesaw will always go up and down all the time. That is what Rahu and Ketu are in our horoscopes. The seesaw battle is always there, and many times Rahu wins that battle rather than Ketu, because Ketu is a planet of letting go and giving up. Rahu is the strongest planet and the biggest heavyweight in the horoscope, but Ketu tends to take away the maximum from you. Rahu, because of it being a heavyweight, tends to give you the most, or gives you the best opportunities, the biggest chances. Ketu, on the other hand, takes away the most from you, and hence the Rahu Ketu axis is very, very important. But what is the deeper manifestation of the seesaw? which means that if you have too much focus on one, then there is going to be a price you pay at the other end. And that is what is the deepest manifestation of Rahu and Ketu energies in your horoscope, and one needs to understand that. So let's see, this is your their placement in the horoscope. What does the Rahu Ketu axis mean in your respective horoscope? For example, if Rahu is in the first house, whereas Ketu is in the 7th house. So here, Rahu makes you too much focus on the self, on yourself. And everything that in your life or around your life is about yourself. And sometimes because you are too much focused on yourself, you have this make-believe aura around you. It is like you are a celebrity, and like celebrities, we know only so much about them, and usually their persona on the screen rubs off on what we think they actually may be in their lives. And so we love those characters on screen rather than the actual person, because we don't know the actual person. So Rahu in the first house is like all the focus is on you, and because all the focus is on you, you want all the results for yourself. The 7th house gets neglected. 7th house is the house of relationship, and all the other people who you meet and work with or deal with on a day-to-day basis. So what happens? Either you have the focus too much on yourself, the greed makes you want more for yourself and you ignore others, or the reputation that you get is that this person is too self-centered. Even if you are not, this person is so self-centered, this person always thinks about himself or herself, he or she is not concerned about us, and so the relationships suffer. And because the relationships suffer, how you deal with other people on a day-to-day basis suffers. So you tend to lose relationship. Those relationships are not steady. Those relationships are not something which will continue with you for a long time. There will be very, very few people who can you truly call your own, and people who you truly close to, and those are your 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock friends, if you can call it. So with Rahu in the Lagna and Ketu in the 7th house, it's important that you be careful of trying to keep the balance on the other side also. And the second thing is, be careful of the reputation that you acquire, because there is much more to lose in life if relationships are at stake rather than focusing on yourself. If Rahu is in the 2nd house, where Ketu is in the 8th house, then Rahu in the 2nd house is all about family, immediate family that you're born with or in, which means your parents, your siblings, and your family pride, your family reputation, your family principles, food, and so livelihood, earnings, savings. So you have too much focus on immediate family or your earning or your livelihood, and many times you neglect the challenges, the issues, the problems which come out from the 8th house. The other thing is also, because if you're too focused on your immediate family, you are not so close to the family of your spouse, because the 8th house is also the house of your in-law. So many times with Rahu in the 2nd house, you don't get that kind of a support which you may require at certain points of life from your spouse's family, and sometimes even from your spouse sees that you're too focused on your immediate family, or at least you get the reputation that you're too focused on your family, on your siblings or your parents, and you neglect your spouse, or at least she thinks that or he thinks that, because of which if there is any shared property or shared investments which you make with your spouse, you will find that you don't gain out of it, or you may tend to lose it to the spouse, or the spouse may not want to part with it. So there is a challenge here also. The other thing which also happens with Rahu in the 2nd house and Ketu in the 8th house is, sometimes you are too much of a foodie, and so you take all sorts of wrong diet also in your system, or in your language you are not able to keep a control, because of which the turbulation, the obstacle, the challenges of the 8th house keep coming up, and they extract a price from you. So wherever Rahu is placed and Ketu is placed on the other house, because of Rahu's manifestation, Ketu will extract the price from it and will take more away than Rahu can give you, if you don't know how to balance that. If Rahu is in the 3rd house where Ketu is in the 9th house, then what is the 3rd house is about? 3rd house is all about self-enterprise, doing something of your own, and gives you a lot of energy to be always on the move. So what happens, such a person, he doesn't want to do a job or work for somebody else, and wants to do something of his or her own. So many times the person may neglect the situation of the 9th house or the studies of the 9th house. A lot of people who drop out from college or from higher studies, or in spite of getting a higher degree, they are not able to get maximum benefits out of that education, are the ones with Ketu in the 9th house and Rahu in the 3rd house. If Ketu is in the 9th house, very rarely will you be able to use your education and really climb up the ladder. It may give you initial start with Ketu in the 9th house. Because of using your education, qualification could be a toll gate for you to make your first move, but after that it doesn't keep on adding to your moving up in your career. It doesn't help you to grow. And Rahu in the 3rd house gives you the energy to be always on the move, and you're not able to settle down in one place or do something. And sometimes it may also make you feel all over the place, or you're into this thing and then doing that thing the other day. It also gives you weird communication, sometimes weird marketing, branding ideas, and sometimes people are not able to understand you also. And so even in college and in your university, sometimes you may not have good relations with your gurus or with your teachers, because they are looking at you differently from what you are. So your reputation is very, very important with Rahu in the 3rd house and Ketu in the 9th house, because you may not be able to focus enough on your career, on your job, and move up ahead, and you may scatter your energies all over the place. So be careful of what your reputation is and where you're focusing your energy with Rahu in the 3rd house and Ketu in the 9th house. If Rahu goes into the 4th house and Ketu goes into the 10th house, then such a person is too much focused on the domestic life, in his own family, which generally we are talking here about the house that you make after you are in the relationship. So the house or the life that you have with your spouse and your own children is what constitute the 4th house the most. And your assets which you make post you setting down in life, making a house, investing in property, investing in other conveniences and in vehicles, all that is the 4th house. So you're so much focused on your domestic life that and making assets that you don't care where you're working, what brand you're working with, or what your relationship with your managers are, because all the time you're focused on your house. You want to create more assets, you want to have more security in your assets, and you want to spend most of your time with your family. So the moment you get any chance, you're focused on your family, you're focused in your house. Even at work, there is some part of your mind always focused at home. What must be happening? What should I be doing? I need to pay this off. I need to make that investment. Why did my spouse say this in the morning while I was leaving? So all the time, all your energies or most of your energies are focused on the efforts of the 4th house, and you neglect the 10th house, or at least your reputation at work is this person doesn't have his heart and soul at work. You are not able to have a fantastic relationship with your bosses. You may just have just about a normal relationship, but not somebody with you hit off on a large basis. And many times, even if you have decent relationship with your bosses, that relationship doesn't take you to places, and you feel stagnated in your work. And because of this, it's important that you protect your reputation at work and you focus on your work when you have Rahu in the 4th house and Ketu in the 10th house. And many times you need to work 3-4 times harder than others to be able to manifest better results from your career. If Rahu goes into the 5th house and Ketu goes into the 11th house, here you are too much focused on your romantic relationships, or also into finances, or into speculative investments or the stock market. And so you may scatter too much energy either chasing the skirt, or chasing the opposite gender, or falling into one relationship after the other, or chasing behind investments, or making this investment and that investment, or this stock and that stock investments. And because of which you're too much focused on your love life or in your financial part of life, and you are able to less focus on your social obligations. And because you're too much focused on making money or your romantic liaison, you tend to ignore society at large, or your friend circle, or your social circle, or social causes which you should be also doing something for, and that you're not able to do. Second, because the 11th house is also the house of large organizations, sometimes being too focused in money and investment and in children and your romantic liaison, you may not be able to get to a very high growth level and to a very high position in a large organization. Either you end up working for small organization, you never get a huge break in a big brand, and you never reach the top of the echelon if you have Ketu in the 11th house. If you know people with Ketu in the 11th house, you will rarely see them working for a large organization, like a PepsiCo, like a Coca-Cola, and there they are at the top of the class, becoming a board of directors, becoming the CEO, MD. Very, very rare placement. So at least, even if you are not too much focused about investments and romantic liaison, your reputation is maybe that of a Casanova. Your reputation is that of somebody who's too much focused on money, finance, accounts, children, and you are not obligated to social causes. You're not, your effort is and focus is not there to shoulder the responsibilities of a large organization. So protect your reputation if your Rahu in the 5th house and Ketu is in the 11th house. If Rahu goes into the 6th house and Ketu goes into the 12th house, you're too much focused on day to day, running around in your career, running around at work. And so your focus is less on the manifestation of the 12th house, which means if Rahu is in the 6th house, you are so much always looking at overcoming the machinations of or the tricks of the people who want to put you down at work, or people who are working behind your back, or you are spending too much energy to overcome the hurdles and challenges with your team members are putting, or your competitors are putting at work. All your energy goes all your energy goes in overcoming those challenges, overcoming those obstructions, and because of which many times the affairs of the 12th house is about giving to a cause such as charity or donations, or even taking care of your health. Many times with Rahu in the 6th house, you end up focusing so much in your work, or you eat all sorts of junk food or add a lot of heat to your system, because of which you end up getting all sorts of chronic ailments. Many of times they stick with you for life or for a long time. And so the healthcare that you are taking, which is about hospitals and clinics of the 12th house, that makes you pay a lot, makes you pay a price, and many times you are not able to profit from that assistance that you are getting, the clinical assistance that you are getting, the medical assistance that you are getting, and all the time you are trying to overcome some chronic ailment or the other, or some or the other challenge at work you are trying to overcome, and because of which you are not able to overcome the issues, the hidden issues of the 12th house, or you are not able to manifest, or you are not able to keep the losses down, because the 12th house is the house of losses. So you may lose your relationship with your team members, you may lose the trust of your team members, you may lose your health with Rahu in the 6th house and Ketu in the 12th house, and sometimes you are not able to get out of that pond that you are in and grow large or take a big leap, like going to foreign lands or going to foreign places, and you get less success in foreign places, or you don't end up going there, or you end up going there for a short time and you are hardly able to make a big mark in a foreign land, in a multinational company, or in the field of armed forces, or in the medical sphere. So with Rahu in the 6th house and Ketu in the 12th house, protect your reputation about your 6th house and the losses of the 12th house. If Rahu is in the 7th house and Ketu goes into the Lagna, then here Rahu in the 7th house is, which means your focus is always either on your relationship or on your partnerships or the team members who are working with you. So if your focus is too much on your spouse, then all the time you are about your spouse. So you want to spend all your time with your partner, or you are planning about what you are going to do with your partner, or your future planning with your partner. So everything that you do is about your life with your partner or with your spouse, or in that relationship that you are. Everything else becomes secondary, and so many times you neglect yourself also with Ketu in the Lagna. You're too much about your partner, you're too much about what you want from the partner. And so what happens is, if you are wanting too much from your partner, then you lose your stature or your dignity, which the Lagna represents. So many times your reputation is of a person who doesn't deserve that dignity, doesn't deserve that respect, because you're all about your family, your partner, or yourself. And so if you're too much indulgent also, sometimes Rahu in the 7th house makes you too indulgent in relationships also, because of which your reputation in society also goes down, because people don't see you as somebody who can be settled in a relationship, because you're too much about the other partner or into one relationship or the other, or you expect so much from the relationship and you are not able to get satisfied from one. You let go of that, you get into another one. So very soon your reputation is that of a person who is not trustworthy, who is not capable of keeping a stable relationship, or being in a stable team also. Your team members also start to trust you less and have less respect for you. So if you have Rahu in the 7th house, many times how you deal with others, how you are dealing with relationships become important, because your reputation is at stake here, your standing in society is at stake here. So protect your reputation and be more balanced in how you deal with others or in your relationship with Rahu in the 7th house and Ketu in the Lagna. If Rahu is in the 8th house, whereas Ketu is in the 2nd house, so here your focus is too much on the matters of the 8th house and you neglect the matters of the 2nd house. What is the 8th house about? 8th house is about virtual money or other people's money or hidden money. I know of a person who was so much into that I should get inheritance from my father. His father had a large estate and he wanted that inheritance. His focus was in that big property that he thought he would get from his father, and his father knew that this person is hungry for that big estate that I have. So father would keep asking him for some money or the other, saying, I need to pay this tax, I need to take care of this part of the property, or I have to pay such a person whom I have taken loans for, otherwise I'll have to sell the property if you don't give me money. And so all his life he kept extracting money from the son, saying that if you don't pay me money, I'll have to sell the property, I'll have to give the property on mortgage. And the son, in the greed for that inheritance, kept paying his father out of his love, but also greed for the estate money all the life. And when his father died and he came to know that the property was already on mortgage, and there was such a huge mortgage on the property that he would not be able to gain anything out of that property, and in fact he had paid a larger sum or chunk of money to the father than the value of the estate, in his greed wanting that inheritance, because of which he neglected the savings that he should have done of the 2nd house. So all his savings, whenever his father wanted money, he would break his savings and give to father, because he thought the estate's the value is increasing, it's a big estate, all that I'm going to get. In the end he lost all his savings, neither did he get his estate. So one has to be careful with Rahu in the 8th house, because you're chasing other people's money, virtual money, and sometimes you're too much into analysis on orders and paralysis by analysis. You take too much time about understanding every facet of something that you lose the potential to earn. You are looking into too much of a risk into anything, because of which any opportunity that comes to you to increase your livelihood, increase your earnings by taking a chance in your job shifting, sometimes you don't take, because you're too fearful of the risks that you may need to take in the matters of the 8th house. So if you're Rahu in the 8th and Ketu in the 2nd, protect your savings, don't live in fear of losing something or chase other people's money or chase inheritance, but work on establishing yourself first. If Rahu goes into the 9th house and Ketu goes into the 3rd house here, then such a person may be too focused either on education, getting this education or that education, or this learning or that learning, and sometimes these such people are interested in unusual learning, or they are interested in traveling so much and learning more and meeting different types of cultures, so they have less time to settle down, or they don't seem to be settled down. They get a reputation of not a settled down person, and because of which the matters of the 3rd house. What is the 3rd house? 3rd house is the house of self-enterprise and doing something of your own. And so this person, while in some corner of his heart he may have this feeling that I need to settle down and do something of my own, because this person is either traveling so much, he or she is all over the place, that they don't settle down into a certain place and do something concrete, one concrete career, one concrete work, one concrete business, which they can do over a period of time, stabilize those relationships, stabilize that business and get benefits out of that. They may not be able to do. They are either dealing with different types of people across cultures, traveling, or too much spending time in this learning, that learning, or this adventure, that adventure, this experience and that experience. All their life goes that kind of adventure, that kind of focus and that kind of learning or those experiences, and they never feel they settle in a certain place and to do enough on their own and to manifest something concrete in their life. So if you have Rahu in the 9th house and Ketu is in the 3rd, you are always chasing luck or chasing fate or chasing adventure or chasing fun or learning, and because of which sometimes you are all over the place and you don't get a feeling of settlement in your life. If you have Rahu in the 10th house and Ketu in the 4th house, so here such people may be such workaholics, and they may be keeping such unusual hours at work, and because of this they may not focus on doing something concrete in their domestic life. Many times they don't just get time to give enough time and attention to their spouse or to their domestic life or even to their children, because they're trying to make a home and they want the security of the fourth house, because of which they are too much into work or attention at work, or they are such workaholics, they feel okay, I will do that, so they're just earning money and most of the money is lying in the banks, or their spouses are do something with that money, they don't even know where their money is going most of the time, or they're just accumulating money and investing in something or the other. All their focus is at work and trying to overcome that, trying to grow up in the corporate ladder, trying to overcome this competition or that competition and get the next appraisal and get the next promotion, have better relationship with their bosses. All their focus is at work. Such people, many times when they come to work, when they come home from work, even then they may get their laptop at home and they sit in a corner and then they're still working until very late in the night. They will be sending the emails. Early morning they'll rush to work. Many times the phone calls that they get from home, they may also be avoiding them because they're too much at work. They may ignore their domestic life to such an extent that they may not have a settled feeling of their domestic life. I know people, sometimes they get into 2 or 3 relationship also because the domestic life is not settled. They're too much of a workaholic, too much focused on work, and even that work may have unusual hours, unusual types of work, unusual manifestation of work. So if you have Rahu in the 10th house and Ketu in the 4th house, be more balanced in your domestic life and at least try and avoid a reputation that you are not a person who focuses on domestic life and you're all about work. If you have Rahu in the 11th house and you have Ketu in the 5th house, here such a person is such a social animal, such a person is such an animal outside of in the social circle and your social network. Many times they go into one fling after the other. They don't have a settled romantic relationship or a committed relationship for long, and because of which their relationship suffers. Many times their final relationship may not be out of a romantic relationship, or even if they get into a committed, long-term committed relationship out of a romantic liaison, the romance in their life wanes over a period of time, and then they feel loveless after some time. And such people then tend to spend more and more time outside in the social circle or with friends and taking up some social cause, and they always are all about that. Or they have the responsibility of working in the large organization and they have such responsibility, so many people who are working under them, that they have just no time for spending time or for a date or some quiet romantic time with their partners, or even about children. And so their partner and the children tend to get neglected. They may make more money in terms of the 4th house, where they may make property, they may have all sorts of conveniences, they have cars, everything, but the time to be able to give to their spouse or to their romantic partner or in their committed relationship or to the children seems to be waning, and most of the time is outside of the house in the social circle or in their responsibilities in working for large organization or for a social cause. So if you have Rahu in the 11th house and Ketu in the 5th, protect your reputation that you're not a family person, that you're not a romantic person, or you don't have time, romantic time or love time for your spouse or for your children, and you're all about outside of the house than inside of the house. If you have Rahu in the 12th house with Ketu is in the 6th house, here you have all sorts of ideas, such creative ideas, some out of the box ideas, and sometimes for such unreasonable ideas that you are always chasing those ideas, and many times, very rarely, those ideas come about and come true. So it is like you're chasing some unreasonable thing all your life, some unreasonable goal all your life, or you're chasing unreasonable savings all your life, and because of which you end up spending more money in trying to extract more money. And either you could be traveling a lot and all over the places, you move from country to country, so you don't have a settled feeling in your career, in your job also. And so the team members which constitute the 6th house are always changing. Also because Ketu is in the 6th house, so many times you end up eating such kind of food because of which you are always visiting clinics or always visiting some or the other, taking some or the other medical help sometime all your life, because you are neglecting the neglecting your visceral organs, you're neglecting the health in the 6th house, and so you are paying the price of the 6th house by ending up paying fees and more time in hospitals or clinics or outside of your home or outside of your domestic land or out of your native land. And you may not be, or you may be somebody who is so much into others, helping others, helping the needy or helping donations or charity, that kind of work, that all your life is all about that, and you're not focused about in a career. Your life is all about the social cause. Sometimes with Rahu in the 12th house, your ideas are so, and you spend a lot of time being awake for till late in the night, and many times you are not able to get up on time early in the morning because you sleep very very late, and you're not able to get up on time because your work schedule goes thrown out, because your work schedule also gets neglected, and you keep unusual sleeping hours also. So if you have Rahu in the 12th house, protect your reputation of somebody who has reasonable ideas, reasonable plans, and somebody who is most settled in his area of work, in his domestic land, in his career, and don't neglect your team members, don't neglect your health. So friend, this is about the Rahu and Ketu axis, whether Rahu is in the Lagna and Ketu is in the 7th, Rahu is in the 4th or Ketu is in the 10th, and so on. So wherever Rahu and Ketu are placed, whichever axis, pay more attention to what price you are paying where Ketu is placed, because of overindulgence in where Rahu is placed, or because of suffering, maybe an uncalled for reputation about where Rahu is placed. So protect your reputation, very very important, where Rahu is placed, and don't neglect the matters where Ketu is placed, because you may end up paying much higher price than you're ready to pay. So friends, like this video, share this video, and if you're looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. Till some other time with some other video, this is your friend astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.